Okay. At this time, it is now 7 o'clock, and I call to order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris, Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. The time is now 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, if we can have a roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz?
Here.
Mr. Mancuso?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Olivo-Moore?
Here.
Mayor Gyorfy?
Here. Before we start the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll just ask everyone to remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Leading us in this month's Pledge of Allegiance is Deputy Mayor Wilson. Everyone who is remote, please mute yourselves, and we'll have Deputy Mayor Wilson lead us in the pledge.
After the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence of those victims from the horrendous and heinous acts of violence this weekend that occurred across the country. Thank you.
Amen.
Our first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes of the April Township Committee meeting and the minutes of the May special meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on May 5th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving into proclamations and recognitions. It is a pleasure to turn this portion of the meeting over to Committeewoman Olivo-Moore, who is our resident nurse and member of the governing body who represents our healthcare healthcare frontline workers. So, Ms. Olivo-Moore, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So today we are celebrating National Nurses Week that started on May 6th and ended on May 12th. But really, I think of the whole month of May as National Nurses Month. And so this is our proclamation in honor of nurses. Whereas National Nurses Week is celebrated every year in May, culminating on May 12th, Florence Nightingale's birthday. And whereas although the act of caring for the sick and injured is something human beings have engaged in for all of human history, the profession of nursing was initially developed by Florence Nightingale during and after the Crimean War in the 1850s, with a specialized body of knowledge and new education programs for new nurses. And whereas the American Civil War encouraged the development of professional nursing in America, and the first 3 formal American schools of nursing were established in 1873, and whereas registered nurses constitute America's largest healthcare profession, and whereas the depth and breadth of the nursing profession continues to evolve to meet the ever-changing healthcare needs of Americans, and whereas nurses are there at the most significant and profound moments of life, from birth to emergency room visits for illness or injury, before and after surgery, to hospice care leading up to death, providing compassion, care, and skill. And whereas nurses promote health in the community, in schools, at vaccination clinics, at blood pressure clinics, providing cost-effective and safe care. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the critical role that nurses play in the healthcare system, providing hands-on care. And whereas the American Nurses Association has declared May 6th to May 12th as National Nurses Week with the theme Nurses Make a Difference, in celebration of the ways in which nurses improve quality care and advocate for patients. Therefore, now be it resolved that the Morris Township Committee celebrates National Nurses Week, and we invite our fellow citizens to join with us in extending our gratitude to nurses who serve unwaveringly as frontline caregivers every day and throughout the most challenging of public health events. And next, I would like to recognize Marilyn Azuelo. Whereas Marilyn Azuelo has been a nurse at Morristown Medical Center for 18 years. And whereas Marilyn has worked in the neuro intensive care unit, the medical intensive care unit, and the surgical intensive care unit. And whereas Marilyn has achieved mastery as a neuro ICU nurse, as evidenced by her certification as a certified neuro registered nurse. And whereas Marilyn is a preceptor to new nurses, a mentor, a resource nurse, and an assistant nurse manager. And whereas Marilyn has been a dedicated ICU nurse throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Marilyn is a loving parent, spouse, and community member, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee of the Township of Morris applauds your work serving the sickest patients in our region, and we offer our sincere gratitude and appreciation for your service to our community.
Congratulations.
And
I'm
next,
sorry, Ms. Olivo-Moore, do you know if Marilyn's with us, and did we want to turn over
I
the panelists?
believe she is. I believe she is with us.
Is she on the phone?
She on the phone?
I think so.
Okay, so maybe,
Because she's not listed.
yeah, and I see Michael Bender too, who we may want to put over as well as a panelist now. There you go.
Phone, I can't promote to a panelist. I can, she's unmuted.
Which
Hello.
you can talk. Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this recognition. I really feel honored.
Thank you so much for being here, Marilyn.
Thank you so much.
We extend our best wishes and thank you, and God bless you for all your service, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll echo those words. Congratulations and thank you for your dedication to your craft and to humanity.
Here, here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Very
much
much.
for your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
You as well.
And now we would like to recognize Michael Bender. Whereas Michael Bender has been a volunteer emergency medical technician for 10 years and has experience as a medical surgical nurse and in subacute care. And whereas Michael has worked in the emergency department of Morristown Medical Center since 2018, and whereas Michael is a preceptor to new nurses, a resource nurse, and a trauma nurse, and whereas Michael has recently been promoted to assistant nurse manager, and whereas Michael has been a dedicated emergency nurse throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas Michael is a loving parent, spouse, and community member, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee of the Township of Morris applauds your work serving the sickest patients in our region, and we offer our sincere gratitude and appreciation for your service to our community.
Congratulations, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm honored to accept this award on behalf of all the nurses at Morristown's Emergency Department. It really is a constant team effort, and I couldn't do it without so many great people supporting me. So I thank you on behalf of all of us.
And thank you, sir, for your dedication and your support to the community and to healthcare here in the town and in the region. That's what makes Morristown Hospital such a great hospital.
Absolutely.
Really is. Very much appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Michael, thank you for everything you do and for all the people you help, the ones who know it and sometimes the ones who don't know it. So I just offer you my heartiest congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
And just to pile on, I agree, and I would say the same thing. And of the past few years, in the most difficult of circumstances, our nurses and healthcare professionals and providers have gone through the ringer during the darkest days of the pandemic to days of resistance and questioning from members of the public. You have certainly, and you and your team have certainly been through it all. And we commend you of not only persevering and seeing through some of the most difficult points of this pandemic, but also keeping the faith and being positive and looking forward. So thank you for everything you've done on behalf of our community.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for honoring me and our honor with this.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Olivo-Moore, any further comments?
Well, I just want to say that, despite what I read about both of these remarkable people, nothing that I said can really capture what a difficult job it is to be an emergency nurse or an ICU nurse, how much there is to learn, how much there is to keep track of, the amount of skill and the amount of care that goes into those jobs. And so I am deeply thankful to both of these amazing human beings and to everyone they work with, day shift, night shift, and all the allied professionals that they work with. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Marilyn and Michael, for joining us. And thank you, Tara, for putting everything together this month. We really appreciate it. Moving on to our next agenda item is public commentary for agenda items only. Before we get into the public commentary, I will note, as I just said, the first public comment is dedicated to the agenda items that the Township Committee will actually be voting on and deliberating on this evening. I know, or many of us, if not all of us know, last night there was a public information session, which we are happy that and pleased that the county put on for members of the public, not only from Morris Township, but neighboring communities about their proposal for the Route 24, Columbia Turnpike and Park Avenue interchange. So comments on that would be later in the evening since we don't have anything on the agenda. However, I will note for those joining us, the Township Committee does intend to have a public discussion along with a dedicated public commentary specifically for this matter at our June monthly meeting next month. And I would encourage those on the line with us tonight and your neighbors to join with us next month at next month's meeting specifically to discuss this. This will allow members of the committee who were unable to attend last night's virtual information session to watch the recording and hear the comments of the public ahead of the June meeting. And I would venture to say and would expect that if we were to take any official action on it in form of a resolution of support for the county, if the committee did want to provide one, that would happen in July at the earliest, so that our members would be able to think about and ask further questions and follow-ups after the June meeting. So I did just want to provide that caveat. If members of the public were here and wanted to speak about it, you are certainly, and we highly encourage you to join us in June. And if you wish to speak about it this evening, that would be happening during the second public comment period. So with that, we have 10 members of the public currently on with us on Zoom. We'll open the public comment portion to agenda items for tonight only. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have any questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. First, is there a motion to open the public comment from a member of the committee?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So looks like we have a hand raised. Greg, if you want to go ahead. Yep. Nick, I see you on. If you could just state your full name and address for the record, please.
Hi. Hi, good evening. My name is Nick Butis, 9 Delaware Road. Mayor Gyorfy Committee, pleasure to make your acquaintance. I believe my comments may be postponed until June. I just wanted to confirm that it seems as though you will not be voting on the interchange project this evening. Is that correct? Because I know clearly Morris Township's vote is crucial, and I'm a resident in a neighborhood that really will be impacted. I just wanted to just confirm that you will not be voting today.
That's correct. And to further clarify, when we vote, we're not voting to approve it. We're just voting in support of the county's endeavor to move forward with the project. We will not be funding any of it, but yes, that's correct. We're not taking any official action on that project this evening.
Yes, of course, but you understand that you are the crucial final vote, and it does impact your residents. Therefore, yeah, we do look forward to the time next June. I thank you for your time, and I'm sure you have other pressing business to attend to.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And seeing no further hands raised, is there a motion to close the first public portion?
So
I'll move
moved.
that. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
We'll move into ordinances. We have several ordinances this evening, so please bear with us. And we will try to go through them as expeditiously as possible. We have 11. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the title of the first ordinance into the record, and we will then open the public hearing.
Ordinance number 04-22, an ordinance amending Chapter 15 Personnel Policies, Section 7, Vacations and Holidays, subsection E of the Code of Ordinances of the Township of Morris.
This code change designates Juneteenth as an official annual holiday for township employees. At this time, we will open up the public hearing for any comments from the public. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have any questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. May I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance number 04-22?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll open up the public portion if any hands are raised for comment.
No hands are raised.
Seeing none, will someone make a motion to close the public comment?
I'll move that.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, may I now have a motion to adopt ordinance number 04-22?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Any discussion or questions pertaining to this ordinance from members of the committee? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 04-22 approved and adopted, and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. Madam Clerk, may you please read the title of the second ordinance into the record, and we will then open a public hearing.
So moved.
I guess I do need a first and second for that. No? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance number 05-22, an ordinance amending Chapter 88 Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Stopping and Standing to add Section 88-2.13 Definitions, Section 88-2.14 Public Parking Spaces for Charging of Electric Vehicles, Section 88-2.15 Fees for Electric Vehicle Charging and Restrictions, and Section 88-2.16 Violations and Penalties in adopting Schedule 33.
This ordinance concerns the electric vehicle charging stations in Morris Township. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing for any comments from the public. May I have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 05-22?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any members of the public?
No hands raised.
Seeing none, do we have a motion to close the public comment period?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 May I now have a motion to adopt ordinance 05-22?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and do we have any discussion or questions from the township committee members? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may we please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 05-22 approved and adopted, and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. Madam Clerk, may you please read the title of ordinance number 06-22 into the record, and we will then we'll then open to the public hearing.
Ordinance number 06-22, an ordinance of the Township of Morris, County of Morris concerning salaries for non-union personnel.
Okay, may I have a motion to open the public hearing on 06-22?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any members of the public, please raise your hands on Zoom. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 06-22?
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 06-22 approved and adopted, and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the next ordinance into the record, and we'll open the public hearing.
Ordinance number 07-22, an ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, New Jersey, concerning salaries for fire department non-union personnel.
May I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 07-22?
I'll move that.
Second.
All right, any member of the public, please raise your hand. And Greg, if you could pin it, because I think people are only seeing the seal when we talk up here. Seeing no members of the public, do I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will be recusing myself from voting on this ordinance due to my role in the fire department, and request Deputy Mayor Wilson to request the motion and roll call, please.
Of course. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 07-22?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore.
Yes.
I, Catherine J. Wilson, Deputy Mayor, declare ordinance number 07-22 approved and adopted, and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the ordinance number 08-22 into the record, and we will then do the public hearing for this one. Danielle, if you're on mute, if you're talking.
Oh, man, I just read the whole thing. All right, ordinance number 08-22, an ordinance requiring that all new residential and commercial developments of apartments or apartment style housing of 12 units or greater to be all electric buildings.
At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there a motion to open?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any members of the public wishing to speak on ordinance 08-22, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I may now have a motion to adopt ordinance 08-22.
Mayor, I just have a quick question on the ordinance, just as a matter of clarification, if it's okay.
We have to, can we have the motion to adopt, and then we'll go into discussion after a first and
Okay.
second, please?
Okay, go ahead.
I move to adopt.
And second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Ravitz, go ahead.
When we talk about apartment and apartment style housing, I want to make sure that sometime down the road, someone doesn't say, well, I don't have an apartment, I have a condominium or a townhouse. And I want to make sure that it's clear that we are indeed saying apartments, condominiums, and the townhouses are all kind of in that apartment style housing.
Who wants to comment? Mr. Ravitz, they're two separate types of development. Townhouses are not included in this ordinance. It is specifically geared towards apartment buildings and high density residential
Right.
single structures.
Would that include condominiums also, if they're built in a kind of a tower?
If they're building, I mean, I think that would essentially be an apartment building.
Yeah, I think what we're doing for the general safety, so I think the apartment style is the stacking and the density of the building itself.
Yeah, I believe.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any?
Yeah.
Does that clarify, Mr. Ravitz?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, then Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 08-22 approved and adopted and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. The following 6 ordinances for consideration and adoption on this evening's agenda include bond ordinances and capital ordinances. Madam Clerk, can you please read the title of ordinance number 09-22 into the record?
Ordinance number 09-22, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements by the Township of Morris, appropriating the aggregate amount of $2,101,500, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,996,425 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
This time we'll open up to the public portion. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any members of the public wishing to comment on 09-22, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public comment period?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. May I now have a motion to adopt 09-22?
So moved.
Second.
Any items of discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 09-22 approved and adopted and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This bond ordinance shall be effective 20 days after the date of publication. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance number 10-22 into the record.
Ordinance number 10-22, bond ordinance providing for swimming pool improvements by the Township of Morris, appropriating $195,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $185,250 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
This time we'll open up the public comment period. Is there a first and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing none, there's our motion to close the public comment portion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 10-22?
So moved.
Second.
Any items of discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 10-22 approved and adopted and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This bond ordinance shall be effective 20 days after the date of publication. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance number 11-22 into the record.
Ordinance number 11-22, an ordinance appropriating the aggregate amount of $1,321,700 to provide for various capital improvements by the Township of Morris.
At this time, we'll open up the public comment period. Is there a motion?
I'll
So
move
moved.
that. Second.
Okay. Any members of the public wishing to comment on ordinance 11-22, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 11-22, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion items? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 11-22 approved and adopted and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This capital ordinance shall be effective 10 days after the date of publication. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance number 12-22 into the record.
Ordinance number 12-22, an ordinance appropriating $1,969,500 available in the Sewer Utility Capital Improvement Fund to provide for various wastewater treatment plant and sewer system improvements by the Township of Morris.
At this time, we'll open up the public comment period. May I have a motion and a second, please?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, any members of the public wishing to speak on ordinance 12-22, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have now a motion to adopt ordinance number 12-22?
I'll move that.
So moved.
Second.
Any items of discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 12-22 approved and adopted and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This capital ordinance shall be effective 10 days after the date of publication. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the title of ordinance number 13-22 into the record.
Ordinance number 13-22, an ordinance appropriating $20,000 available in the Parking Utility Capital Improvement Fund to provide for the purchase and installation of a new boiler for the Convent Train Station House by the Township of Morris.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there a first and a second?
First.
Second.
Okay. Any members of the public wishing to talk about our boiler or Convent Station, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 13-22?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 13-22 approved and adopted and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This capital ordinance shall be effective 10 days after the date of publication. Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance number 14-22 into the record.
Ordinance number 14-22, an ordinance appropriating $115,250 available in the General Capital Improvement Fund to provide for various capital improvements by the Township of Morris.
Thank you. Well, now, do I have a motion to open the public comment period?
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay. Members of the public wishing to speak about ordinance number 14-22, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to now adopt ordinance number 14-22?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any items of discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I, Mark Gyorfy, Mayor, declare ordinance number 14-22 approved and adopted and direct the township clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. This capital ordinance shall be effective 10 days after the date of publication. All right, we got through the ordinances. Now we're moving into the resolutions. And I believe we will be able to vote on all 16 resolutions together on block. unless there are any requests from members of the committee to strip out any resolutions to vote on separately.
I'll offer the 16 resolutions, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that.
So we have to, sorry, Mr. Mancuso, we have to vote on the motion to then vote them all at the same time. So I'm looking for a motion to vote on resolutions number 99-22 through 114-22 by one motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And now may I have a motion to approve resolutions number 99-22 through 114-22?
So
Mayor
moved.
Gyorfy, I'm sorry, before we do that, I just wanted to point out for resolution number 107-22, that has been updated to reflect this morning's online reverse auction. So the title that was posted in the agenda is actually changed now. It now reads resolution number 107-22, authorizing a contract to Freepoint Energy Solutions for power supply of electricity for a 24-month period at a rate of 0.08080 kilowatts per hour.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So now may I have a motion to approve resolutions numbers 99-22 to 114-22?
So moved.
Sir.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Consent calendar. We have 6 items on the consent calendar this evening. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar from the committee?
So moved, sir.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving into consideration of monthly reports, we have received reports from the finance, fire, and police departments for March 2022. We have received reports from the library and the tax collector for April 2022. May I have a motion to approve these monthly reports, please?
So
I'll
moved.
move that. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Claims for payment, our list of bills and vouchers. The total amount of bills and vouchers for this meeting is $9,103,873.37. We are also the tax collector for the school district, the library, and the county. May I have a motion to approve the list of bills and vouchers for this month?
So moved, sir.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Olivo-Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Okay, next we have standing committee reports and commentary by the Township Committee. Each of us will be providing our reports on the work we've been doing on our standing committees, in addition to providing general commentary for the public. Is there anyone wishing to speak first from the committee?
I'm ready, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Mancuso, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Like to mention several things that are happening with the police department and our appointments. We have appointed probationary police officer Panagiotis Sikoris. Interviewed him last week. The police committee found him to be a worthwhile and very, very engaging young man. And we're so delighted to have him coming in to into the ranks to go along with all the other fantastic police people we have. Secondarily, tomorrow night, Thursday, May 19th at 6 p.m., excuse me, at Town Hall, there will be a promotion ceremony for the following Morris Township police officers: Lieutenant Kyle Lowry, Lieutenant David Crowley, Sergeant Justin Crowell, Sergeant Ryan Farrell, and Sergeant Robert Dombrowski. We're just proud to have these people moving up in the ranks. One more situation you've seen on your notes is Captain Shira is going to become the acting chief of the Morris Township Police Department with the departure of Chief DeCarlo. And I would say one thing, coming from a police family, I am so proud of how well we have done in providing enough people with enough experience to be able to move into positions of leadership in a very, very short time. So I'm just grateful for that. And one more thing is, I'm very, very happy with Mr. Quinn and Mr. Prusinowski for settling several of our outstanding contracts. We still have some more to go, but they have been doing yeoman's work, and I'm very proud of them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mancuso. Mr. Ravitz, would you like to go next?
Sure. Are we doing, just to clarify, are we doing committee reports and commentary, or are we going to come back around for commentary?
No, we're doing them both.
Okay. All right. So here we go. I'll update you on Parks and Rec first. Our swimming pool's open on Memorial Day weekend. Memberships are available to Township residents and out-of-town residents. We are still in need of lifeguards and assistant managers. So please inquire at the Parks and Rec Department if you or anyone else you know is looking for some fun summer work. Ginty Pool is all cleaned up and operational, and Streeter Pool will be finished up next week. The Ginty Pool bathhouse floor renovations are complete. So that's wonderful, and a great job to everybody that was involved in that. This past weekend, we dedicated a seating area to Mother Lena Rogers at the Collinsville Playground. Mother Rogers passed away in 2020 at the tender young age of 105. She was a powerful voice in the community, and she served both her community and God with distinction, and it was a pleasure to be part of that dedication ceremony. In addition, we were proud to be part of the Morristown American Little League opening day ceremonies. Very happy to report that our mayor, Mr. Gyorfy, threw one right over the plate. So that's a good day.
pitch.
For the record, it was a perfect strike. No.
Just for the record, first time, long time.
We're holding our townwide garage sale this coming weekend. So all participant addresses and times are listed on the Morris Township website and the Morris Township Library website. So if you live in the Morris Township, or if you're hearing my voice, the last day for sign up was today, and registration, as always, was through Community Pass. We do have signs for those folks who are participating. So at the municipal building, you can pick up a sign for your driveway that lets folks know that you're participating. Let's see. As always, there's numerous townwide volunteer and scout project opportunities. It's a great way to get involved and make a difference. So inquire at the Parks and Rec Department for a full list of projects. And on the last, the committee report, just a quick kudos and shout out to the Morris Township Fire Department for saving a home earlier this month on a very windy night that was next door to a house that was fully engulfed. And so I say, let's never take our fire department or fire safety for granted. That's pretty much it for my committee reports. And for my commentary, I will say good evening to everybody, and thank you all for participating in our local community government. National politics may get all the spotlight, but it's what we do here locally that has the biggest economic and quality life of impact on our lives. Tonight, I want to address the recent domestic terrorist hate crime mass killing in Buffalo, but it also pertains to mass shootings that have become so pervasive in our society. It's something we should never become complacent about, as it becomes a near weekly occurrence somewhere in our nation. Every ending to my commentary each month speaks to how othering other people, especially those who don't have the economic or political power that some of us might now enjoy, is actually a tool used by those who seek political gain and power by keeping us divided. I'm not the only one that feels this way, and in actuality, I stand with the majority of my fellow Americans. I'm going to read some passages from a speech given yesterday in Buffalo. It doesn't matter so much who said it, but that it was actually said. In America, evil will not win, I promise you. Hate will not prevail. White supremacy will not have the last word. White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through our body politic, and it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes. Failure in saying that is going to be complicity. Silence is complicity, and we cannot remain silent. Hate that through media and politics, the internet has radicalized, alienated, lost, and isolated individuals into falsely believing that they will be replaced by others, by people who don't look like them and who are therefore, in the perverse ideology that they possess, are being fed lesser beings. I and all of you reject the lie. I call on all Americans to reject the lie, and I condemn those who spread the lie for power, political gain, and profit. Now is the time for people of all races, from every background, to speak up as a majority in America to reject white supremacies. These attacks represent the views of only a hateful minority. We can't allow them to distort America, the real America. We can't allow them to destroy the soul of the nation. Prominent voices and other non-mainstream media sources have promoted some of the paranoid beliefs espoused by the gunman. Regardless of whether these voices actually believe the intolerance, bigotry, and hatred of what they spew, doesn't matter. It's about political gain for the haves at the expense of the have-nots. Those who espouse not addressing the problem lest it become politicized are deflecting from their own complicity in this national nightmare. They can only change the topic of conversation if we let them. And on a tangent topic, there's a new twice as powerful rifle that will very soon be available for purchase. Twice as powerful means body armor piercing. As the AR-15 is to the current standard military rifle, it will be a civilian copy of the new military rifle that will be deployed to our troops late next year. It's going to make mass killings even more horrific and from a greater distance. Its 20-round magazine slips under even the most restrictive gun laws. This puts police officers throughout our nation at a much greater risk than they are now. The time to address new sensible gun restrictions is now. It's what the majority of Americans want. If not for the gun culture glamorization of guns everywhere we look, and for so many decades, we'd be at a different point with sensible gun restrictions than where we now find ourselves. The notion that might makes right and passing that gun culture idea along to children has actually helped create the anti-gun culture. I end, as I always do, with this. New restrictive laws in many states aim to discriminate or penalize certain demographic segments of our population. Let's keep in mind that no one is looking for special treatment, but rather equal protections under the law. Equal protections for all of us does not infringe upon or diminish the rights of any of us. Let's not marginalize the people who have less political or economic power as some of us might now enjoy. Rather, let's face up to and stand up to those who continue to profit from our division. Those profiteers are the source of the nation's problems. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ravitz. Ms. Olivo-Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I am the chair of the Sewer and the Department of Public Works. And as always, I am happy to report that the sewer utility and the Department of Public Works are doing an excellent and professional job. I have noticed as I walk around town that many folks do not place their pickup bins, their garbage and recycling bins 4 feet apart. Bins need to be placed apart to make it possible for the automated trucks to pick them up successfully. I've also noticed that many folks are putting their recycling out in plastic bags inside the recycling bin. Plastic bags do not belong in your recycling bin. Your recycling will not be recycled if it's inside plastic garbage bags in the recycling bin. Empty your recycling into the bin so that the items are loose, and then drop your plastic bag into your garbage bin. I want to say congratulations to Panagiotis Sikoris on his appointment to the police department, and congratulations to all the officers being promoted tomorrow night. Congratulations also to Eric Rush, who is a new appointee to the Environmental Commission. My gratitude to the fire department, as Mr. Ravitz mentioned, for saving that house. Memorial Day is coming up. We remember this month soldiers who died in uniform fighting for our country. It's a solemn day when we contemplate the freedoms they died for and pledge ourselves to put those freedoms to nobler uses. Which brings me to the subject that Mr. Ravitz was just speaking of. As he already said, the events of this past weekend in Buffalo are shocking and yet not surprising. A young man steeped in racism he found on the internet when he was bored drove hours to a Black neighborhood where he could find as many Black people as possible. This was possible because of the segregation of neighborhoods. When I happened to look up census data for segregation for Northern New Jersey, I was shocked to find out that Northern New Jersey, the place I love, is more segregated than Buffalo. It's the second most segregated area in the country, second only to Milwaukee. Each person that shooter killed or wounded was a person, a human being, a child of God, and an American citizen. You cannot call yourself an American patriot if you want to harm other American citizens, or if you think other American citizens deserve less than you based on group membership. I know I am preaching to the choir here today, but do everything we can to knit our communities together through our integrated schools, through our integrated sports leagues, through volunteering, everything that we can do to make our communities less segregated and more integrated means that our neighbors of color, are less likely to be targets of people like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olivo-Moore, and well said. And thank you very much for handling this evening's recognition and proclamation too on behalf of the nurses. And thank you for all that you do in your profession. Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I too wanted to thank Committeewoman Tara Olivo-Moore for writing the beautiful tribute to the nursing profession and celebrating National Nurses Week. Like so many others, the last few years have given me personally a whole new insight and appreciation, not only for the dedication, the skill, and the caring that nurses bring to their work, but also to their ability to inspire the resilience that I've heard Tara talk about so often that we need always, but especially now during a time of the pandemic. So many thanks for that, Tara. I have a couple of different topics I'd like to comment on this evening. I did attend last night's presentation on the Route 24 ramp project that was sponsored by the county. I found myself thinking about it quite a bit today. I thought the questions from the public were excellent, and I thought the county engineer, Chris Ravitz, did an exceptionally good job answering every question that was brought up. Getting from where we are now, this initial early concept plan, to full project completion would involve going through many complex, multi-step processes that would take 5 to 7 years, if not more, to complete. I find it significant that each step in that process would involve meaningful public participation. In other words, opportunities for the public and local officials to work together with county officials to develop effective solutions to address such concerns as the potential for increase in cut-through traffic on Prescott and Delaware, for example. I do believe this project would decrease turn times and backups at the intersection, but it does not address the real root of this problem, which is too many cars. There's too many people getting to their destinations by driving in their own individual vehicles. This proposal would open the door to further increases in the volume of cars on Park Avenue. I do not support that particular outcome. I do see an opportunity here for the 4 surrounding towns, Hanover, Florham Park, Madison, and Morris Township in particular, to work together in ways that focus on that bigger problem that's plaguing all of us. Namely, what can we do to decrease the number of cars on the road? And what can we do to encourage alternative modes of travel, like walking, carpooling, and public transit? At some point, I believe the mayor announced tonight this governing body will be voting on this project. As of this moment, I'm on the fence. But I do think the bigger issue of how the surrounding towns can work together to decrease the number of cars on the road is one of the key issues we need to consider as we contemplate how to respond to this proposal. Moving on to another topic, which cuts across 2 of my standing committees, Environment and Transportation, namely our efforts to obtain certification through the Sustainable Jersey program. This issue, the need for regional collaboration across towns, ties directly with the work we're doing to obtain certification through the Sustainable Jersey program. For example, the first item on the Sustainable Land Use Pledge we passed last month is a commitment to reach out to our neighboring municipalities and consider regional impacts as we work with land use decisions. I think the Route 24 project offers us a perfect occasion to do that. Our Green Team, which is a subcommittee of our Environmental Commission, is working really hard to meet the first submission deadline for the documentation, the certification request. The deadline there is May 22nd. In addition to reaching out to surrounding towns, the Sustainable Jersey certification program is also opening doors to encouraging our own in-house boards and committees to communicate with each other and work together in new ways. Using the land use pledge as an example, the SJ certification process requires that this pledge is shared and discussed with all of the boards that work with land use issues in various ways, including the Planning Board, the Board of Adjustment, the Environmental Commission, the Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Economic Development Committee. I am starting to see this emphasis on collaboration as one of the main benefits of pursuing certification through this program. On transportation, the SJ program is also impacting the work of our Transportation Committee. The SJ offers a lot of guidance on ways to enhance public participation in transportation projects and decisions. One of the SJ suggestions is to develop checklists that can be used to guide public participation in all phases of a project's development, from early concept development through later, more detailed phases. TAC's Complete Streets Subcommittee is reviewing the SJ materials on public participation and is looking at ways that these practices might be incorporated into our own approach. I think this is a very interesting and exciting project, and I encourage anyone who's interested to attend TAC's monthly meetings, second Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Another committee we're working on, Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, that they held their first meeting in April. The next meeting of that group will be next Monday, the 23rd, from 3 to 4:30, and it will be by Zoom. So we were hoping to be in person. We're not quite there yet. Two of the topics we'll be discussing include the need for an initial survey, a lot of interest in that, and also ideas for developing what I call a one-stop shop for all things seniors. There's a lot of interest in that as well. Many things are already being done, but a lot of people don't know where to go to find information. So that's going to be one of their projects for the year. Everyone's invited to attend, and I do believe there will be a messenger email, or will there? How do people find the link, the agenda link? It's on the website?
It's on the website, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so it's on the website, the link for public participation. One other committee, EDACT, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, on April 28th, they held a visioning event, which was really exciting. I thought of it as a milestone. We've never done anything like this before. This was a charrette. A key feature was the opportunity for people to meet in small groups, discuss and share ideas with each other about their vision, what they would see, what they would like to see the future of the Madison Avenue corridor look like, what they would and would not like to see there. This, their vision overlaps the work of several of our committees, including the Planning Board, Board of Adjustment, EC, Transportation, Historic Preservation, and the chairs of, or their representatives of all of those different advisory boards are being invited to EDAC's next meeting, where our planner will share the results of the visioning activity. So this is another meeting I think many residents would find quite interesting. Again, the link would be on the agenda that you can find on the website. Finally, I'd like to also congratulate Mr. Sakoras for being hired as a new patrolman in Morris Township as one of our policemen. I too, like Peter Mancuso, look forward to tomorrow's ceremony, celebrating several promotions. It will be in person, which I'm very glad about that. And we will also be honoring several of our officers who also served in the armed forces. And finally, I would like to encourage everyone to attend our Memorial Day ceremonies coming up a week from this Monday, May 30th, 10 a.m. Town Hall. There will be, I believe, a parade to the green, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to just highlight for everyone that the keynote speaker in the green will be our very own mayor, Mark Gyorfy. So we'll all be there supporting you, Mayor. Anyway, and you're probably too modest to have mentioned that, so I'm mentioning it on your behalf. Anyway, we all look forward to that, and with that, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. I appreciate that. For my committee reports, I'll start with legislation, grants, and government liaison. We do have quite a few items that are ongoing. First, I'll address Route 24 and kind of echo what I spoke about earlier this evening for those who joined us after our initial public comment portion. As everyone knows, we're happy that the county put together a public information session to hear comments from the public and answer questions directly to their engineer. We intend at our June monthly meeting on the agenda to have a designated public comment portion for this proposal, as well as a township committee discussion here during the meeting. As of now, I do not anticipate the committee taking any official action until the July meeting at the earliest. By discussing it with the public and amongst ourselves in June, that will allow us to have a thoughtful discussion, hear the comments and feedback from the public, and then think about it for the next month. It'll also give us time for our members on this committee to watch the recording of the information session from last night for those who were not able to attend. And I think that's a proper course of action so everyone can deliberate and discuss and think about the impacts. One thing that was exciting and that happened this month, and kudos to Deputy Mayor Wilson for kicking this initiative off. Several years ago, Deputy Mayor Wilson was pushing for expanded notice for land use developments, commercial and residential, to residents, to expand the 10-day notice requirement to 21 days. It has been a long effort that Deputy Mayor Wilson has been working on, along with other members of governing bodies across the state, including with the League of Municipalities, to try to provide our residents and the residents across the state more notice, more ample notice when development is occurring. Far too often, especially with the plague of issues at the Postal Service, notices, even if they're mailed 10 days ahead of time, don't always give our residents enough time to actually study what's being proposed, and asking questions or informing their neighbors. So Deputy Mayor Wilson, I think in 2019, if not earlier, pushed for a 21-day notice requirement, which would require state legislation. Earlier this month, thanks to Senators Anthony Bucco and Senator Joe Cryan, a piece of legislation has been introduced in the state Senate to expand that 10-day window to 21 days. Earlier this evening, as part of our resolutions, we passed a resolution of support and intend to actively advocate for this piece of legislation. This is important not only for our town, but for towns across the state. And this isn't about being pro or against development. This is about providing transparency. And we are grateful that this is not only just a bipartisan bill in the state Senate, but we are optimistic that we have two great sponsors of this bill who will work with us to try to advocate for its passage in the upper chamber in Trenton. So that's a big update. There'll be more information to come, but thank you for Deputy Mayor Wilson for starting this process. It's a big step forward.
It is.
I did want to also note, talking about grants, I believe as our first act is using our ARP funds, American Rescue Plan funds, for our major capital projects. This evening, we approved the purchase of a quint for the fire department, which will serve two purposes: as a ladder and a pump. For the fire department, it will allow the fire departments to have flexibility, and it will allow them to reduce their fleet down the road to reduce maintenance costs. This is a great example of our representatives in DC fighting to bring our hard-earned tax dollars back to New Jersey. As many people know, New Jersey receives some of the least amount of federal tax dollars back to ourselves. Other states, which Congressman Gottheimer calls our moocher states, they receive a lot more benefits from the federal government than what they put in. And we are lucky to have representatives in DC fighting to bring our federal dollars back to us. And this is directly impacting our fire department. They will now have a newer piece of equipment to replace a 2-decade-old piece of equipment, and that will allow them to more effectively respond to emergencies like the fires we've had in the past month. Furthermore, on legislation, I did just want to highlight, Mr. Ravitz and I will be doing research. We already have started into ordinances that other municipalities have in our area regarding leaf blowers and gas-powered leaf blowers. Many towns across the state are looking into this, dealing with noise implications along with pollution implications. We do not have a recommendation yet for the Township Committee. We are studying ordinances throughout the state and prepared to provide some pros and cons for our colleagues on the Township Committee in the near future. So we'll keep you informed on that. And lastly, we are also working and we'll start working with the Environmental Commission on looking into energy aggregation. Last month, as part of our environmental push, we renewed our resolution to move forward with energy aggregation when costs permit us to, and we will continue doing so that we are in a position of power to make informed decisions when the market provides for us to do so. For engineering, I just wanted to highlight that the Sherman Avenue reconstruction project is going to begin soon. They'll be working on curbage and drainage work, I believe, on or about May 23rd. And we're excited to have that project moving forward. As those who join us frequently know, it's our first street in the township that will have traffic calming devices with raised intersections. So we're looking forward to doing that as well as installing sidewalks. For general commentary, I'll echo the comments from the committee members on the mass shootings this weekend. We had a moment of silence earlier. Next month is Gun Violence Prevention Month. As mayor this year, I'm a member of Mayors Against Illegal Guns. But as Mr. Ravitz pointed out, far too many of these instances of mass shootings are involving legal guns. And our country has been grappling, what are we going to do about this for far too long? Far too many people have gone to work or gone out or gone to a family member's house, gone to church, and have not returned. And this is not a Second Amendment thing. This is also about protecting our first responders who go into these situations to save others. Our police officers, firefighters, EMTs in Laguna Woods. This weekend, it was a pastor using a chair to defend his congregants. So next month, I'm sure we'll be talking more about it. It is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and I'm sure we'll have a further discussion, but our hearts go out to all of those impacted, not only this weekend, but for the mass shootings that happen far too often across our country. And lastly, Deputy Mayor Wilson noted our Memorial Day parade and service on Memorial Day this year. We are excited to have the parade back. We're excited to be marching from our municipal building to the green. We encourage all of you to attend. I know our fire department and police departments will be out, along with the Little League members. Usually the marching band comes too. So we encourage you, since we haven't had this in so many years due to COVID, to support our veterans, support those who lost loved ones who are in the service, and come out and remember those we've lost. With that, I think it's time to open the second public comment portion. Currently, we have 14 members of the public joining us on Zoom. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. Is there a motion to open the public comment period?
So
I'll
moved.
move that. Second.
Okay. Please raise your hand and we will recognize you. I see Mrs. Susan McHugh.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Could
Okay.
you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Susan McHugh. I live at 8 Delaware Road, which is in Florham Park. I want to thank you for your comments about the Route 24 Columbia Turnpike Park Avenue intersection. And I'm looking forward to seeing your opinions of how it's been put out there. With that being said, I'm hoping and I'm asking that you don't support this because of the direct input that it will have on the surrounding neighborhoods and where they're allowing the traffic. And I do support Kathy Wilson in your call for regional planning. I am going to talk to my council members in Florham Park asking for regional planning. I sent everybody in the surrounding towns, and I'm sure you got my letter, how important this is. Because we're just moving this problem 900 feet down the street. And in 5 years, when it's complete, we're going to be looking at another solution, which will take another 30 years. Might as well just leave the intersection the way it is. That's my opinion, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Mrs. McHugh.
Thank you.
We have Vicky with her hand raised. And I think it's, I don't want to butcher your last name. It's Bargo. Bargo?
Yep.
No, we talked.
Hello. Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, you were a little bit choppy, but we can hear you now.
Oh, great. Hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me speak. It's Vicki Bergue, 11 Mark Twain, Marsh Township. First of all, Mayor, I really want to thank you for bringing to everyone's attention the leaf blower that you guys are evaluating it. Just want to bring up again, it's the end of May. A sooner evaluation would be appreciated as it is causing, again, considerable noise in our neighborhood, as well as really impacting the environment. So, anything you guys can do to really speed up the evaluation of what's happening in the community, I think will not only help us from a noise perspective, but for our environment. So that's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, we'll be in touch. And I'll follow up with you in email when I have an update on what our steps are or where we're at in the process. So thank you for joining.
Much appreciation.
Lee Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg, I believe you're on.
Yep, Lee Goldberg, 10 Arrowhead Road. Am I audible?
Yep. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Just to look backwards on the resolutions, I just do have a couple of questions on 4 of the resolutions, and I'll be very quick and brief on them if I could just get some elaboration on them, if you'll indulge me in looking backwards. The first 2 are 102.22 and 103.22. One is a financial agreement and one is a redevelopers agreement. Could you just elaborate as to what those are about or what they're tied to? Or
Yep, Mr. Quinn.
So that's in reference to the transfer of ownership from the affordable housing building that's on the Colgate site. It's going from JMF Developers to Shabbat of Hunterdon County.
what does that mean? Does that mean?
It's a transfer of ownership of the facility. However, the manager is remaining the same. Correct, Mr. Quinn?
Correct. The owner of the property is selling to another property owner, and because it involves a pilot project, needs the approval or the consent of the governing body.
Yeah, so they're basically selling it as an asset, right?
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. The other one is 104.22. The reference is a block and lot number. Is that also the same property? Or what is the actual address or property that's referenced in 104.22?
Yeah, I believe they're the same. We're just triple checking.
4 Colgate Road, they're all one and the same. It's all part of the transfer process.
Thank you very much. And then the last question on the resolutions is 109.22, the rescinding of the electrical work on street or pool. Did something happen where the work is no longer needed, or?
Unfortunately, that firm went out of business. So we have to find another one.
Well, but there's still a need for the work then.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. And also want to thank this committee and also Deputy Mayor Wilson for that update on the 21-day advance notice. That really, to Mayor Gyorfy's point, is a big change, and I know will be appreciated by many residents across the state. I do recall, and maybe I'm misconstrued on this, but was there also a part of that legislation to expand the 200-foot to a 500-foot buffer as well for when they report on that? Is there any linkage there, or that included in the legislation? Do you know?
So what you're referring to is, yeah, so last year in a land use package of resolutions, we advocated for doubling the 200-foot notice requirement to 400-foot. We have not found members of the state legislature willing to sponsor such legislation. I know it's complicated in higher density areas of the state. We do believe it's what we practice for redevelopment. However, because of state statute, we cannot practice it for planning board or board of adjustment matters. But our committee fully supports expanding the 200-foot to 400-foot, or quite frankly, I would support it to 1,000 feet. But unfortunately, we don't have that power to change that law in Trenton. But we will advocate for it. But right now, we're taking what we can get, and 21 days is definitely a worthwhile endeavor to expand to.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you'll keep us posted as and when that works its way through the legislature. So thank you for that. And then the ceremony tomorrow night with the promotions of the officers and the promotions in the police department is listed as a public public event. Does that mean, is town hall open tomorrow night for that event to the public, or is that only for the people that are participating in it?
It's a public event. It'll be out in the front of the building. It'll be outside.
Oh, okay.
I believe, and it's noticed because of more than 2 members of the township committee being there. And I believe we're at, you have a minute left. Do you have any further questions, Mr. Goldberg?
No, I don't have any more questions. Just a comment on the meeting last night that was very well attended by the public. Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for taking time out to be there. I thank you in advance to the committee members for taking time out to review it, and for your efforts on allocating time in June for the public to be able to continue to dialogue on with this. I'm interested in learning what the individual committee members' thought processes are on this, as you alluded to, Mr. Mayor, that you'll be sharing that as part of that meeting. Yeah, the county did a great job running the meeting. Mr. Ravitz did a great job, and look forward to engaging with this township committee and other members of the public on this issue. And thanks for allocating time for it. Appreciate it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. And I think recognize Mr. Ravitz. I believe he was on it too, as was Mr. Quinn. And any other members who may have been on it, but we'll certainly will review the full recording afterwards before we discuss in June. So thank you.
Thank you.
I see Mrs. Betty Barrett with her hand raised.
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, ma'am. Can you just state your full
okay.
name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Betty Barrett, 5 Loman Road. I don't know if you can answer this question. It was about the meeting last night. I asked a question. I wanted to know if officials from Chatham, Madison, Florham Park, and Morris Township were listening to the comments, and my question was not answered. She said she couldn't let me know, and I wanted to know why I couldn't. I wasn't asking for names. I just wanted to know if officials from other towns were listening.
I can't answer specifically on other towns. I know several of our members were on live, and those who could not make it will watch the recordings. I can't speak on behalf of other municipalities, but I'm sure the county will also be providing the recordings to those members of their governing bodies.
Okay, well, I would assume that Morris Township was listening. Most of your members were listening, but I was curious about the other towns, and apparently they can't give that information out. I don't know why.
We don't have any further information.
Oh,
for you.
there's no
Sorry about
reason.
that.
Okay, well, that was my question. Thank you very much. You're doing
Thank
a good
you.
job. Okay.
Appreciate it. Have a good evening. Mr. Thomas Kelly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, Thomas Kelly, 11 Arrowhead Road. I want to thank you for your time this evening. A couple comments. One, regarding the leaf blower ordinance or research. I hope you're taking into account residents who like to do their own property. You know, that comes with a cost burden to the residents who enjoy doing their own property. And I happen to live on over an acre of property. So that this ordinance of changing some of those things comes at a great cost to some members who enjoy those things themselves. So I hope you take that into consideration, and I'll be tuning into all that information as it comes forth. Secondly, I want to thank Deputy Mayor Wilson for her time regarding the preliminary preferred alternative that is that Route 24 nightmare project that is existing. I want to say thank you for taking the time for the next month to look into this information that has been presented to you. And I would implore you to really look into that 500-page DOT Smart Solution study that pretty much calls out this preliminary preferred alternative. Even though the alternative is not there, the original design is. The alternative was just moved south 100 feet. And the summary of findings pretty much states that, I'll actually read you the quote here. Based on the results of these studies, the Office of Value Engineering finds that the traffic congestion issue at Columbia Turnpike and Park Avenue is not due to the ramps off of Route 24, but rather due to the local businesses development in the vicinity of the Jets training facility off Park Avenue that drew high number of traffic to this location. The department will analyze the cost benefit of these improvements. However, the analysis showed that any of these improvements will have a short-term improvement that lasts approximately 5 years. This is from the DOT. This is their own study. I hope you take this into consideration when you're forming your opinion regarding that and the 8,000 vehicles that will be coming off of this ramp that leads directly towards Delaware Road when we deal with a documented between both police departments cut-through issue. And also I'll ask that you look at the YouTube video and really focus on 4 minutes and 28 seconds to see where that arrow comes out. Our neighborhood is hidden by the legend. So it's just a lot of information. And I think with the rising costs and the legal representation from the office building, the office park now getting into the process, these costs are going through the roof. This is no longer the $13 million project that they thought it was going to be. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing the dialogue regarding these issues.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Kelly. Appreciate it. Seeing no further hands raised, is there a motion to close the second public portion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that, we are reaching adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next Township Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, June 15th, 2022 at 7 p.m. via Zoom with a closed session at 5:30 p.m. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
night, all.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.